Okay, these are now the external factors that are affecting your price. If you look at your market structure, I mean, nowadays we normally work in a perfect competition where a lot of companies share the market. Um, you do still have some companies, and I think I mentioned them before in another lesson, where you have the oligopoly, where you've got a small number of companies with a large market share, and you look at the petroleum companies there or banks. So how do they make sure that actually, even though there's only a small amount of people to choose from, that actually people buy their products as well? And then you've got the monopoly, where you've got one company that has the only control and no competition. So basically, if it's a monopoly, do you actually need to market yourself, because people are actually forced to use your product or service anyway? There are not a lot of monopolies left anymore because of the deregulations in the 90s. So if you think about British Telecom, they're not the only telecommunications provider in the UK anymore as they used to be. There are loads of bigger or smaller companies around now that offer different prices and different services. And the British Telecom now obviously has to make sure that people stay with them and buy their services and products as well. The other thing is your customer perception. Is the value for money, is the demand there, how sensitive are they to price changes? And you also have to consider your elasticity. Yeah, which is the responsiveness in demand for product or service when the price changes. So how do your customers respond when you lower your price, or actually when the price goes up? So if you, for example, think about the the housing market, for example, when the prices go down for houses, in buying them, people obviously, are more willing to buy, for example, than when the prices go up, when maybe people are more willing to sell. The third thing you have to think about is your competitors, and where do they position themselves, and where do you position yourself in regards to them. And then your environment, or your economic environment, for example, exchange rates, travel patterns as well. So a lot of things. So you have to consider a lot of your pastel factors and your SWOT analysis here as well, and how you react to changes in your marketing, in your external marketing environment. Obviously, you have to consider who your customers are. Not everyone is interested in the same thing and buys the same way and expects the same thing. You have different customer groups, different user groups. An example here, for example, are leisure centres. They've got gold members, so maybe members that have been there for years, that want all the services that are there, that get a loyalty card as well. What about pensioners? Do they maybe pay a bit less than your average working person? You've got student members, so a lot of them have their student cards, so a lot of leisure centres accept student cards as well. And family memberships. If you're a big family, maybe you've got two children, do the children, are they free, or do they only pay a quarter of the price? So again, what do you do if your whole family wants to be a member of a leisure centre? And I'm sure you can think of a lot more examples here, but that's the other thing. You can't just price everything the same for all your user groups or all your customer groups. Then the pricing methods that are out there are the perceived value pricing. Okay, so actually, do people think it is good value for money? The going rate pricing, so is that what people are expected to pay at the moment because everyone else charges this price? Then the cost plus pricing is the cost of the production plus the share of your company's overheads and the percentage of the profit margin. A lot of food and beverage outlets do this, and it's called markup pricing and cost percentage pricing as well. So Then your target return pricing, which is the price at which the product will be competitive in the marketplace. Then you've got your markup pricing, I just mentioned that. Psychological pricing is charging, £1.99 instead of £2 or £2.01, because it's still perceived as cheaper. Sealed bid pricing is very often done by governments or other public agencies to guarantee an objective consideration of competitive bids, and the investors are informed about a deadline by which they can actually send in their pricing bid. And then moral pricing there as well. The one thing you have to remember is perishability when you look at services. Services cannot be stored. We know that the consumption is at the same time as the production. Normally pricing is used to stimulate demand. So if you think about EasyJet, and they always have sales on, people very often buy the plane tickets or the seats when the sale is on, and after the sale the price normally goes up, and there's very often a tendency to overbook there as well. Okay, just to look a bit more at the pricing strategies now. There's something that's called premium pricing, which sets a high price but gives a good product or service exchange. So if you think about Ritz Hotel, you think about your luxury hotels here. Then you've got your penetration pricing. It's a low price in order to gain market share, and then the price increases. And one example I can come up with is that the France Telecom did this in order to attract new business customers, new corporate clients there as well, because again, the telecommunications market is no longer a monopoly. There are a lot of smaller companies out there. The next thing is the economy pricing, where it's a no frills and at a low price. Examples are the economy brands, like rather than buying Heinz beans, you buy the Sainsbury's or Waitrose economy brand. The same with the soups or pasta. Price skimming, which is where prices are high, usually during the introduction. I mentioned that one before. For example, new albums or films on release as well. And then finally the price will go down. So if you think about a new album, or books as well actually, which is quite high in the beginning, and then the longer it's on the market, the lower the price goes. Psychological pricing, I mentioned it briefly earlier. It's obviously to get a customer to look at their emotional level, and rather than rational. So again, if something is priced at 99p rather than £1.01, someone will buy it because it's still under £1. Then product line pricing is all about how different do you price a product. So for example, if you buy one Mars bar, it's probably priced at about 45p by now. A 4-pack is 99 pence, and then the bite size is priced at £1.09. So the more you buy, obviously the less the price is as well. So buying a 4-pack of Mars bars is probably seen as more economic than buying just one Mars bar at 45 pence. Okay, then you've got pricing variations, where you've got different prices at different times of the season. So you've got your low season, you've got your shoulder season, you've got your off-peak off-season pricing as well. It's the same with the train companies. If you go somewhere before 9 o'clock, you pay extortionate amounts of money. If you go somewhere after 9 o'clock, it's much cheaper. Early booking discounts, stuff like that. And also incentives on expensive goods. For example, if you buy a car, you have a cashback offer there as well. And then the optional product pricing is for any optional extras in something that you buy. So if you buy a car, for example, and you want to have, I don't know, the onboard computer, you want the heated seats, I don't know, you want all the extras that you can get with this car. Obviously, you've got your optional product pricing, you've got the base price, and then anything else is extra on top of that. Next pricing strategy is captive pricing, where you can only get the additional service from the original provider, or where you buy products that complement others. The example here for are razors and razor blades. The razors are quite cheap to buy. However, if you buy then the razor blades, they are very expensive, and it's very often the same with printers. Printers are not that expensive anymore, but the ink cartridges are very much still expensive. I bought a Canon. The Canon printer was £60, and the cartridges are between £13 and £16 now, which is quite expensive. The other thing you can do is price bundling, where you have two or more things at one price, where you combine your product and services. So, for example, software, books, and CDs. So you get that very often, that you buy a book and you get a CD with it, or you buy a book and you get some software with it as well. Promotional pricing is all about buy one get one free. We all know these. As an introductory offer, for example, or just pay half price for a loaf of bread because it's a new bread, and then you go 2 weeks later and you pay the full price for it. Geographical pricing. Not every country has not in every country you pay the same price for products. So iPods, for example, have different prices in different countries. They're quite reasonable in America, and they're right over here. They're much more expensive in Germany, and it's the same with the iPhones. They're still not cheap, but again, they're different prices in different countries. And then value pricing. And if you think about the recession at the moment, the economic situation we're in right now, and if you think to restaurants or also hotels, they have value menus, or they make special arrangements for different target groups or for their guests, so that they still get people in to stay in their hotels or also to eat in their restaurants, but they adapt their price according to the economic situation at the moment.